fostering deeper relationships, influencing behavior change, developing resilience. You're about to start winning. Here is your host, Christine Bright.
Welcome to Parenting Game. I am so glad you are here. Teaching financial literacy to your children can be challenging. Where do you go to get help? How do you make it fun? Well, I have Pam Blattner here from Bank of Sun Prairie, who is going to give us some great recommendations. Pam, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
So share with us what you do over there at Bank of Sun Prairie.
Oh boy, that's a loaded question.
Yes.
So I am the assistant branch manager of the Main Street location, and as well, I'm also the bank's financial fitness instructor. So I get to educate kids in the community as well as parents on financial literacy.
I love that, and I love that fitness, instructor, because it is a muscle that needs to be practiced. If you grew up and maybe didn't have a lot of that in your home, it's the parents then have to practice it to pass it down to the kids.
Absolutely.
So I am so glad that you guys have this support. But before we dig in, fall is here in Madison. What are some of your favorite things to do in the fall?
Oh boy, I love the colors. So being able to even just go downtown. I know the farmers market probably will be wrapping up here, but I just love going down there and seeing all the different colors and the different things that we have to look at.
My mom hates it, but my favorite time is to go to the farmers market in the fall and go early and be kind of bundled up, and you have your cup of coffee and you start out, and then about halfway through, then you get to start taking off the layers, because you warmed up,
Right.
Or you get, some of that spicy bread, and that warms you up.
Absolutely.
Fall is my favorite season. I love them all. I love starting to get out my fall clothes. That's always very satisfying to me as well.
I don't know about putting away the summer clothes, but I do love fall as well.
Yeah, I love, and maybe it's just getting out clothes, because I kind of like the same thing in the summer too. Now that I think about it, like putting the winter clothes away and seeing what you've all
Right.
had stuffed away for a while. So, what are some of your favorite outdoor activities?
I really enjoy going just for walks and seeing what nature is out there.
Mm-hmm.
I go camping a lot with my kids and my family, so that's kind of fun to be able to travel all over Wisconsin and just see different scenery.
That is the one thing that I really like about Wisconsin. In general, most cities, for one, Madison, of course, is greatly known for its parks and, walking paths, but that's the camping. It's tucked away everywhere. It's so lovely. I'm more of the camper, a little bit on the glamper side. I prefer to be in a pop-up camper. Tent camping is
Yeah, we have an RV.
Okay, so you're totally
I'm there with you.
Okay,
I'm
good,
there with you.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it a lot more convenient and
Yep.
more, fun. So how many times do you guys usually go during the summer?
It depends, but we try to get out at least a couple times a month and go with my parents and stuff, which makes it even more memorable.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's just a great time. Us in Wisconsin, as soon as that weather breaks and you can just spend every minute outside, that is what we are doing.
Yes.
Okay, I have a little fun thing for you.
Okay.
So, one of the local chocolatiers has been supplying chocolates, and we do a chocolate challenge.
Okay.
Now, I promise you it's nothing off the rails weird, but they are some unusual flavors.
Okay.
So, my mom is going to bring us over, my production assistant. She's been so great helping me out. Okay, this one looks fun. All right, so we get to try it.
Okay.
And then we got to figure out what flavors that were. Good thing I have water. That one's got powder on the outside.
It does.
Okay, that has a little spice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely cinnamon. I think that was what was on the outside.
I can taste that now after the fact. Ooh, and then it's a little hot.
Mm-hmm.
Right in there.
Okay, cinnamon and something hot. Okay, Mom, what were we trying?
Cinnamon cayenne.
Oh!
Okay, that would
that
explain
explains the heat. But it works well with chocolate.
Yeah. And it doesn't all come at one time either.
Yeah, there was a lot of layers to that.
Yeah, it was good.
Very yummy. So, all right, one of my favorite parts of, the program. Okay, so let's talk about what you all offer at Bank of Sun Prairie. You do have several categories. So before we get into how parents can support their kids with financial literacy, for adults, you have a lot of options to help them as well. What was really just outstanding to see is you do financial literacy just on personal banking, and then small business foundations, which I think is so helpful. Our country is built on that, and I know the first business that I had, I just started it. I had a lot of support, and the financial literacy part for a business, I really didn't have strong foundations on. So I loved when I saw that. And then home ownership as well. Can you just speak to each of those categories just real briefly? What support in the personal bank? We'll start with the personal banking area. So in the literacy, what you offer.
So when it comes to those courses, we have kind of two different courses. We have 50 plus courses that are 7-minute digital courses that anyone, whether they're a Bank of Sun Prairie customer or not, can access online. And those cover a variety of the personal banking things, just a little quick snippet of information for each of those. But we really focus on budgeting and then like what is a bank account, how to utilize those bank accounts, because it's really important too, not just to get one, but then understand what do you do with it.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot that goes into that as opposed to like direct deposit, how to use a debit card, and all of the things that come with that personal aspect of banking. And I think the biggest thing out of all of those is how do you budget your money?
Absolutely. Okay, then you have the small business foundations. Share with me a little bit about that.
So we in the community are very business focused. We are looking at ways we can help people in our community left and right. And there are lots of people that are entrepreneurs and they're looking for different ways to be able to be successful and have some of that foundation and understanding. We have this course that allows us to assist them with the beginning stages, not just when they want to come to us with a loan, but helping them understand what do you need to do to start a business? How can we complement you and get you to the point where you understand what you need to do to be successful? Because there's a lot that goes into that. Understanding your P&L and are you going to have employees and how are you going to pay for those people? And it's a lot to know. And so if you have a great idea as to what you'd want to do to start a business, it's a great course to start with as well to get you
I highly recommend it. As I said, now being a different type of, still a small business owner, but now in a completely different field, that was the piece that I had missed the first time around. And talk about being able to make decisions better when you learn how to budget your money for the business. The first time it's like I come in and I'm like, I pay my employees, this is what left, what am I going to do with it, and becoming more structured with it. And in my current business, wow, my decision making, and to have support. I mean, when you're a small business owner, it's scary, but to know that they can come to you and get this support and help is really, really priceless.
Absolutely.
And then the last category that you have workshops in is the home ownership piece. And with home ownership being really on this crazy ride right now, I am sure that we have many who might be interested in what that support looks like.
Yeah. I mean, it's the American dream, right? The American dream is to own a home. But how do you get there? And it starts with building credit and establishing credit, maintaining your credit, so that way you can put yourself in a good financial situation to be able to afford a home. That also kind of ties into the budgeting as well, making sure that you have money set aside to be able to assist with that. Because right now, I think even in our local area, we can attest that affordable housing is something everyone's looking for. And how can we help those people get into a home to be able to meet those dreams that they wish that they had or that their parents wish that they could have done for them is really important too. So it's all that educational piece on what can we do to help you get into a house and meet your dreams.
And this is so great because when I, was growing up, typically you just went in your bank and you did your transactions. Or if you were looking to open, back in the day when CDs were the thing, and you just did your transactions. And, I used to work in banking years and years ago, and this education piece was not offered. And I just appreciate you guys, how you support the community just with what you do in our community, we see you guys out supporting all sorts of nonprofits and activities, but then really the individual themselves is amazing. So thank you for doing that.
It's awesome that you recognize that.
It is, because it's easy to do the big splash.
Yeah.
It's more intentional when you're willing to offer these type of workshops and really connect with that individual. And we just need it so much. Okay, so let's dig into teaching financial literacy to your kiddos. I'm just going to put this out there. A lot of times, are you also teaching the parents along with the kids when you dig into?
Absolutely. Because it's really hard to teach your kids something that maybe you don't know, or maybe no one's ever taught you. So our focus is definitely on the adults, because we need to help them have a more stable understanding of what they're sharing with their kids, and then having it trickle from there. We found that most people learn any of their financial stuff from what happens at home, and it's just really important that we start that base right there.
So just kind of walk us through what programming that you have that the bank offers, if there's something online they can take, what you do if they show up and say, okay, I want to do better and help my kid do better. So just share with us what that looks like if somebody would come to you for help for that financial literacy piece.
Absolutely. That's a really great question, actually. That's the first step of anything, right, is asking for help and finding a resource. So coming into the bank, they can sit down with any colleague that we have and ask questions and tell us what their goals are. And we want to listen and then be able to help guide them based on whatever their goals might be, because everyone's going to be a little bit different in their family situations. But if somebody came to me and they sat down and said, hey, I have children and I'm looking to see what's best for them, the very best thing that you can do is just start an account.
Okay.
Starting a savings account is probably the very first thing that you can do as soon as you have a Social Security number for your child to be able to put money aside. As you start and you grow funds, from there, it's really kind of dependent on you as to what you would like to do. You can look at different investment options of things that you can do that are outside of the bank that would not be FDIC insured, but they would have a bigger set of return. You could look at doing 529 plans for college, which are tax deductible, different accounts that are high yielding or more high yielding than a savings account that then they could use for college. And if they don't go to college, they could cash those in and pay the taxes on them. Or you could put them into a brokerage account or something along the lines that would be an investment into the market that are getting a higher rate of return. I know you mentioned CDs before, and there was a time right, where you could get a really high interest rate, 10, 18% on a CD. Well, lucky we don't have that right now because people would be paying 10 to 18% on a house or a car loan. But the interest rates just aren't there to produce a high yielding return for a savings account, and it's important to look at other options as well in addition to the savings account.
Excellent. What are the steps with coming in if your child's a minor? How does that work with setting that up? Who has control? Who has access to it?
That's a good question as well. So when it comes to minors, minors cannot conduct on their own account. We set up what's a UTMA account. It's a Uniform Minor Act account in which the minor is getting funds saved for them, and they don't have access to them until they're changed over or handed over to them at age 18 or whatever age you decide as the parent to let go of those funds. That means you can put gifted funds into an account, and that person does not have access to them. And you have one custodian, so one guardian that can come in and transact upon that account for benefit of that individual. So that individual doesn't need to come to the bank and actually open an account, but you do need their Social Security number to open an account, and then you conduct as the responsible custodian.
So, so just to clarify, so whose Social Security number is going onto that account?
It would be both, but essentially the Social Security number of the child would be the one that reports.
Okay, absolutely. And then how does that transition now when they turn 18, or what age can they then, it can be transitioned and they can conduct their own business?
That's up to the parent or the guardian. They can change it over sooner if they wish, but by the time they're 18 to 21, they should be transitioning it over into like a traditional savings account or gifting those funds to them. Typically, most adults do it when that person's getting like a checking account when they turn 16 and they're getting a job.
Okay. And the one thing that I do like about that with the custodial, you already have built in, you don't have to fight with your kid about, if they, can to go and get it. You kind of have a natural boundary in there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, kiddo, we're going to have to discuss this together, because ultimately, I got the yes or no on it, which can be helpful, in the parenting piece. The other thing that's really exciting is they have something to look forward to, like building this up. And then, when I'm 16 or 18, then they're learning how to control their money, and then they're going to have this great transition into taking it over themselves. So, savings account, first step. What else? What other advice do you give to parents?
I think they have to talk and figure out too, what does it look like? What are things that you're going to be helping your kiddo with? And planning early is really important. Maybe not even having that conversation with the child, but maybe the parents that are involved, or whoever may be involved in this child's upbringing, to make sure that they're ready for who's going to pay for college, who's going to help me buy a car. What does that look like? Because kids, when they turn 16, all of a sudden they want a car, they want a driver's license, but there's also insurance, and there's other things that come with that as well. And unfortunately, if there isn't proactive planning, and all of a sudden that person turns 15 and they get their temps, you may not have enough money in a year to be able to save up for a car. So proactive planning is extremely important as well for big purchases with cars, education. What does that look like? Who's going to pay for a wedding someday? What are your plans as a child? What are you hoping your parents will help you with as well?
Excellent. And that is a big piece of it, finding and setting those goals. That even makes it more enticing to save up, if those kiddos have some set goals on what we're looking for the future. So savings account, then look at checking. So how do you, now that's a whole new world, because with the checking, they're going to be able to write their own checks. What are some recommendations that you make for parents before that checking account is opened up?
Checking accounts, we will open if somebody is 16 or older, and they have to have a parent on the account with them, because they are not of legal age to sign for things themselves technically. At the Bank of Sun Prairie, we offer a really cool feature called Card Valet, and Card Valet allows you to monitor spending. So if I have a child who has a checking account, I can put their debit card information into this app, and I can get a text alert every single time the card is used, and I have the ability to turn it on and off and freeze the card or restrict purchases.
Wow.
So like I could turn it off completely for e-commerce, and they would not be able to make online purchases. So there's little tools out there that we have that'll also complement and make sure that your child is making good choices.
Because the world is debit card, as much. I'm more of a cash girl and try to pay cash as much as I can. Again, though, I think with that, is there reports that the parents then can print off to show their child their spending? Because I always think that's valuable with the debit card, because you can kind of lose perspective of what you're sending on. So how detailed is that app?
Yeah. They have the ability to look and control at all different spending. So just like, I think there's like a pie graph in there that tells you like, this is how much you're spending on this, and this is how much you're spending on this. So it's kind of cool to be able to see that too, and put a picture with what you're trying to complement or educate your child on.
Gosh, I wish they would have had that one. My son was a kid. The technology is really amazing to support parents and helping their kids is, when they step out on their own, that this isn't just a shock now, and they're learning through mistakes, because financial mistakes can be just, not that you can't recover from them, they can take a long time. But to have these tools and establish it early on is really amazing. So going from that, savings account initially, of course, saving is so important, helping them build that habit. Then they go into a checking account, and you have that great piece now where you can help show them how they're spending their money, how quickly it goes. And love that the parent doesn't have to panic that they're going to overspend or do something they're not supposed to. What other tools? What comes next after that?
Well, typically at that point, they're 16 to 18 already. So personally, I think that there's so much more that we should be doing that we're kind of restricted to, and our hands are kind of held back because the kids are ready to fly.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we're setting them up to make good decisions, but they might also be going off to school. So that's where we really have to make sure we're hitting these kids younger and younger and having those conversations at an earlier age before all of a sudden, they just have that really short window where they get a checking account and they learn their habits and then all of a sudden they're gone. Because that really is a really, really short window for us to be able to educate them on all the things that they should be doing before leaving the nest, if you will.
Yeah. So do you guys have anything yet online that parents can access as far as courses and support just to learn more?
Yep, so we do have 50 plus courses. It's like a library category selection on our website that talks about all those different things and budgeting and things like that to help get started. And it also talks about like planning for college and some of the things to kind of put that little thought in your head to think about it before all of a sudden the window is very, very small. But we do have those on our website. It's called the Financial Fitness Center on our website.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we do have a little time left. And as I said, Bank of Sun Prairie has been so active in the community. Share with us what you've been up to and how you've been helping the community and the different nonprofits that you guys invest in.
That also is a very big umbrella of things.
It is. We know Media Center. You know, you guys have been a great supporter of the Media Center, which has allowed me to be able to produce and host this show. So I appreciate that. But share with us some of the other community projects.
Absolutely. We are really kind of fostered on volunteerism and being out in the community. And we are encouraged as part of our daily normal day to be out in the community and volunteer. And that's every person in the bank, and it trickles from the top down. We are also very encouraged to serve on different boards and help wherever we possibly can. So personally myself, I'm on 2 boards. I'm on the Friends of the Neighborhood Navigators in Sun Prairie, and I am also on the Business and Education Partnership Board. So that's just me. And we have 100 employees. Wow. Each one of us is really encouraged to do something and really make a difference in whatever we are passionate about. So I can't say enough about the Bank of Sun Prairie and the things that we do, but there is just so many organizations, I wouldn't even be able to touch on all of them, the ones that we impact on a day-to-day basis.
And obviously by your name, we know that you have several branches in the Sun Prairie location, but you're just not in Sun Prairie. You have locations elsewhere, and where are those at?
So as of right now, we have one in Cottage Grove as well, which is really exciting, and hopefully there'll be more to come.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for what you do to help support families and small business. And again, that individual piece where you invest in them because you want people in this community to be successful. And I appreciate your time in coming on today. But before we go, share your website.
Absolutely. So if you go to www.bankofsunprairie.com/financial-fitness, -education, that's where someone can go to get those resources or my contact information to be able to have one of the other 17 in-person courses.
Okay, and we are fully back open. They can stop in at any branch and just tell them what their needs are, and somebody will help them and point them in the right direction. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for tuning into The Parenting Game. We are on Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you for watching The Parenting Game. All episodes of The Parenting Game are available on demand at sunprairiemediacenter.com.